welcome to Jermaine on Natural. I am Jermaine Ryan. And I wanted to clean up some of the things that I have been hearing in some of these videos that are alleging that the natural hair community has failed. I'm going to firmly and solidly disagree. I think that there were a lot of points that were definitely like really valid and spot on points. I just think that there were just some small things that could be cleaned up as far as what was the alleged failure on the opposing side. I don't know if people are tossing them up as being the same thing or if they are parallel to each other is how people are seeing it. But I keep seeing the natural hair movement, and YouTube, it's not a movement.
Movement is a loose term here, right?
Let's do a little mini Black history for this month. It's also Black Business Month for August as well, so support your Black-owned businesses. And I'll have some things linked down below as well. Oh, and remember that any videos that pop up above will always be linked down below for you to watch after this one. They also may be in the cards. Okay, the black hair movement, the natural hair movement, actually got its start back in the 60s and 70s. Sorry to disappoint so many, but you weren't the beginning of it. Sorry, you ain't starting nothing. Actually started with the Civil Rights Movement and was more zeroed in on those of the Black Panther Party who were basically tearing away from European standards. They were getting away from pressed hair, hot combed hair. That's when you started seeing the afros being rocked by men and women. Men were letting their hair grow out into large fros, and women were doing the same thing. They were growing out the bigger fros. If you take a moment, Google Kathleen Cleaver, also Google Angela Davis. Just a couple examples. But if you look at any of the women at that time doing the Civil Rights Movement, doing the Black Panther Party, then you'll see that the nice, perfectly shaped, which is so hard to do, the perfectly shaped round afro came together, organized organizations. They marched, they helped to create laws, they helped to create bills to be passed to wear their natural hair, they could get jobs. That was a movement, which then continued into the 70s, and then you started to see more outside of the activists and outside of the civil rights movement. You started to see pops of it, glimpses of it here with other people in the media, so TV actresses and things like that. People like Cicely Tyson, who was on the cover of Jet, rocking her. She did two. Was it Jet in Vogue? She did two covers, one where she had the braids and then the other one where she had her fro. So in this instance, this was a movement that was created solely around basically the freedoms and the equality of Black people, organized and with a purpose as far as changing laws, changing the way that we are viewed in society. So as the movement continued to push forward through the 60s and 70s, you still had it kind of floating around through the 80s and 90s, early 2000s, and then that actually leads us into today, where now we're definitely seeing a lot more natural hair in more spaces, but now we're seeing the Crown Act coming into effect, which again, movement. So it's changing the laws and making it illegal to fire people due to just their natural hair growing out of their scalps. A movement. Got it. Brings me into my next topic. Now listen, this is taking me a lot of time to put these together. I'm really going to try not to make this long. I'm not going to talk too much, but I tried to break these down into movement being the first topic, talking about the natural hair community, and then finishing it off with rules and trends. The community. A couple of videos that I watched did point out that the natural hair community got its start in the early 2000s. Mid to early 2000s. We're talking 2006, 7, 8, 9 is where it got its start. And with that start, you started seeing the natural hair forums, the blogs. As far as with YouTube goes, you had people like, of course, everyone always mentions Whitney, aka Naptural 85. You had, even though her hair texture is looser curled, you had Hey Friend Hey that was around back then. Two people that I discovered that I did not know have been around as long as they have been around.
Who is it?
Who is it? Was Nappy Foo. Nappy Foo has been around since, I think her videos, like her oldest video was like 12 years ago. And who really threw me was Rochelle Graham. So some of you may be like, well, who is Rochelle Graham? Definitely, if you watch me, you've seen this on my channel a few times. But she is, and you've definitely seen her product, she's the creator of Alakay Naturals. You would have seen them definitely in Target with the lemongrass collection. The dates on her oldest videos were the oldest that I saw, 13 years. I was like, what? Started off as a college student making hair videos. What up, though, Rochelle? Mid to early 2000s, right? Several other people that I didn't mention. Narada, African hair god, he was around back then. I think there were a few other guys that he's mentioned that were in the space at that time that were showing natural hair. Patrice Yersick, who created Afrobella, the forum blog over there. They were sharing the things that they were making because for our community, that's really how hair care got started in a lot of ways. We were making them in our kitchen. At its core, it was people sharing what they were doing with their hair, how they were doing it, trying things, experimenting. You saw the fails in a lot of those videos. So it was a very pure place to be. Let's clean up. Let's clean up some of the things that I think don't accurately depict the alleged failure. And I'm going to keep saying alleged because I don't think it failed at all. One video that I did watch was by a young lady named Julesy. And though she made excellent points in a lot of the things that she was saying, she spent a good time talking about brands and basically how she was shaded. One of the things that she said that I was like, don't know about that. She said it twice in a video that the natural hair community failed because a lot of us, is what she said, did not leave feeling better about our hair. That made me pause because I'm like, well, wait. If the space consists of regular ass people, right? Everybody's regular ass people. Everyone's doing these videos in their spare time because sponsors didn't exist. And then you have the people commenting who were the regular ass people. So if you're regular and the people that are consuming your content are regular and the people that are commenting are regular, I don't think anybody's job was to make anybody feel better. I think wasn't everyone just sharing? Everyone was basically, crawling through trying to learn their hair. In addition, no one can make you feel good about your hair other than yourself. That is solely in your control is you. I'll use myself as a really quick example. Growing up, I did not have the best self-confidence in how I look. Not my skin color, but features. So some people are just the ones, the Sasuke's of the group. If you get the reference, you get the reference. Typically these people are good looking people. I didn't have like a whole lot of people that were chasing me down, and I felt that way until like mid to late 20s. And it wasn't until I learned that, hey, there are actually some really, really good things about yourself that maybe you could lean into. Maybe you should start throwing some nice, kind affirmations about yourself as well, just to kind of, help yourself out a little bit, bruh. And once I started leaning into the things that I found were my star qualities, that's when I want to say my thought process on my physical appearance began to change. And once I shifted my thought process and focused on more so the positive and good things about myself, that's when my overall feeling about myself began to change. And it took me a long time to get there. Right now, you can't tell me nothing. Even though every once in a while I have a spark of like, oh, don't make that face. Uh-oh. Fix that face. But overall, I've gotten to a place where, I know who I am. I'm very, cozy with who I am, and I know that I'm an attractive person. Again, you have to change that within yourself. Unless you're going to see a paid professional, then they're there to do that. And if you still haven't gotten to the point, again, a paid professional. I just kind of wanted to clean that point up. Another point that I saw, the content creators and the influencers, because it's YouTube, so it's always going to be that, because the content creators and the YouTubers are the ones that in this space helped to create the natural hair community. And of course people were like, well, it's them because, they were shelling out all of this misinformation. They're taking these deals, they're doing these campaigns, they're doing these ads, they're being sponsored. Now we moved up into 13s, 14s, 15s. Now we've got a robust amount of natural hair care products. We've got more black owned brands. They're just selling us any old thing. They're telling us these false things and all of these different things that are just not true about natural hair.
No.
Me coming into the space, number one, just not knowing anything about being a content creator, just a regular consumer, and I am still a consumer to this day, is that a lot of things that a lot of content creators and YouTubers have put out there, they Google things that they saw from stylists and they just put it out there. One thing being porosity. Oh my gosh, your porosity is so important. There's so many articles that talk about porosity and what it does for your hair and all of these type of things from stylists, from experts. Some of them may have twisted some things up. Some of them might have got some things wrong, but they were learning just like everybody that was watching it. They were learning too. Everything changes. You know, there are a lot of stylists now that say, well, you know, your porosity actually isn't that important. It seems like it seems like everyone was talking about porosity at one point, stylists. And then it switched to, yeah, it's not really that important. There are other things that are more important when it comes to doing your hair. So stylists, right? I did see, because, you know, there's this whole battle between stylists and content creators, YouTubers, which is the most ridiculous thing to me. That should not even be a thing since we're a part of the same community. Natural hair, right? They have the technical training. They're taught the basics of when it comes to hair. I think that there's a lot that we can learn from stylists. I have definitely learned a lot from stylists, just from asking questions, just from watching people like Narada, aka African Hair God, who is always willing to share knowledge for free without charging you, and who will actually, when need be, break out the encyclopedia of hair books, flip to the pages to make sure that what he's saying is right. It kind of doesn't get any better than that, because even though sometimes we all think that we know some things, it is sometimes better to just make sure that you know what you know. And I think that when it comes to people that have the technical training, there is no better place to be than in a space where people may be discovering things or needing to learn things, or maybe they could tweak their techniques or their methods when they're doing their own hair, because not everyone can afford to go to see a stylist every 2 weeks, every 3 weeks. And sometimes it is helpful to help someone in between those appointments. I don't think that stylists have caused the downfall of the natural hair community. Now, I know that there has been, so black girl curls, right? In most of the videos that I have seen, when it comes to stylists, they're normally the name that's dropped. They kind of fall under two parts. Our stylists, the ones that are allegedly causing the downfall, they also fall underneath the last point, which is the trend/rules of the natural hair community. They popularized the no raw oils, no raw butters. They have mentioned that they did not create it, but they got on YouTube talking about the method. It became popular. It was a trend that many of us did try. I think that the premise behind it is actually a really good premise. They have said in their videos, and they said that it was because people come into their salon and they would be like, oh, my hair is dry, my hair is brittle, and I use butters and I use oils. And they're like, well, that's probably the problem. You're stockpiling all of this stuff on your hair. You need to get all of that stuff off so that you can actually know your hair, learn your hair, and then move from there. I thought that that was an excellent idea, because yeah, if only thing you're doing is adding on stuff that causes buildup, and then you're building up on the buildup, and then the buildup is built up on, but you still building on top of it, then yeah, you're gonna have problems with your hair. So detox, clean ingredients, no raw oils, no raw butters. People always leave that real specific point out. It's raw oils, meaning you go down to the local, whoever your local store is, and you buy a thing of olive oil, and then you come home and you wash your hair and then you slap it on. And raw butters, same thing. You go to your local, I don't know, farmer's market, and you have the folks that are down there selling the raw shea butter, and you buy that little clear plastic container of shea butter, and you come home and you warm that thing on up in them hands, and you just slap it on your hair, and you just keep doing it. You keep slapping and piling. Also, I think they did mention that as far as with your products, that those oils or butters should not be in the top 6, if I'm not mistaken. So I think that in a sense, giving your hair a very clean slate and allowing you to get to know your hair is a good idea. I think that if you are struggling with your hair, you're not really sure, and you're using all of these things, and you don't know why it's not moisturized, why it's not behaving properly, then yeah, I think that a reset is really good for your hair, so that you can reset it and then start from scratch and say, okay, here's what my hair looks like, and you build from there. Some people have gone on to make it just their regular everyday thing. They've built a whole curriculum around it at this point. They charge for them to teach you, whatever their methods and things like that. And they have product suggestions and all these other things. I don't think that they have caused the downfall of it. Somebody fighting. I think that their overall delivery and disposition turned a lot of people off. And like I said, because they're on YouTube, because they're not OGs, because they came onto YouTube when it got really, really popular, what came off as rules to so many people deterred folks. Did they cause the downfall of it? Because so many other people were like, listen, I know my hair, I'm gonna use butters and oils. And they have even said, listen, if they work for you, they work for you. Aside from personality, the purpose behind it, I think was good. I think it helped a lot of people. So no, I wouldn't say stylists. Mixed people.
Hey, who said that? Who said that?
Yes, some people are blaming folks that are biracial. A couple of people that I did mention that were here in the early part of the 2000s, Bianca Renee and Hey Fran Hey. They were here at the beginning, and it grew. There probably were other people that had similar hair textures to them that were here at the beginning. I don't know them. Those are the only two that I know. The natural hair community grew with them being a part of it. So no. Which kind of ties into another aspect that was brought up, which is the companies, the brands. Another video that I did see was Sindal. Sindal named 9 reasons why about the rise and the alleged fall of the natural hair community. Great points all the way throughout. She spent a good amount of time though talking about companies, and I would say no to that. Reason being is because we, the regular ass people, are who are the ones that make this community. Only thing they did was say, hey, we've got some products for you to use. They didn't make anybody buy anything because no one can make you do anything. So if you chose to become a product junkie, you chose to do it. I review products because people may want to see how they work. I consider myself to be like Consumer Reports. You know how Consumer Reports reviews all of these, best vacuums of 2022. Best used cars to buy 2022. Like, that's what I consider myself to be, just because I do more than hair. And in addition, it's part of my journey of growing my hair out. So I review things, and I suggest them, and people will be like, oh my gosh, in my comments, they'll be like, oh my gosh, this looks so good. I don't plan on buying anything else. I ain't make nobody do nothing. And nobody made me do nothing.
And can't nobody move me.
I was influenced in some cases. But I have total control over what I do and what I buy. Now, the points that she did make that were definitely spot on, which ties back to my earlier point that the natural community failed because people left and didn't feel better about themselves. The point that Sindal made in talking about brands and companies is that they prey on those type of people. No, nothing's wrong with your hair. We're gonna create a serum and it's gonna fix your damaged ends. And they preyed on people's insecurities with their hair. They in a lot of instances know that, natural hair is considered niche, which is stupid. But they preyed on those type of people and said, we've got a fix for your hair. Put these squirts on the ends of your hair. Look, magic, your hair is now fixed. When really it was just coated and it was just damaged underneath still. So I think to that point, and the points that she made in that instances, spot on. But they're on the outside. They're on the outside. Not to mention that once we got into the 2013s, 14s, 15s, 16s, 17s, 18s, into the current, the people that were creating the products for us were people from here. Like I said, Rochelle Graham from Alakay Naturals started on here. She was a college student. Natural 85, she was a DIY person that started here. Some of the women, black women that have created the brands were hairstylists. They were using these things in their shops. They were creating them themselves, and they were like, hey, I actually should make this because people look at. Have you ever seen Beauty Shop? Yeah, that. With Queen Latifah. So a lot of the brands were created by the people in our own community. They were created by the stylists. They were created by content creators. So people blaming them, and Sindal wasn't the only one that blamed companies, but those that are blaming basically the folks on the outside, they didn't cause the downfall of anything at all. They just created products for us to use, and most of those were by black women that were part of the community. So nope, I would say no to that one. Hey, it me editing. All right, so remember beginning of, Peruna, when we were all at home and it was this big push for support black-owned companies, support small black-owned businesses, support women-created black-owned hair care brands. And there was this huge push for it. There were some men brands in there, black men-created brands in there. Those women had hair and were using models that looked like mine, whose hair was kinkier than mine. Very few people were using the folks with the large ringlets because they didn't even have that type of hair. Some of them were even in the ads and posing as the models for themselves. So nope, let's change that false narratives. Let's stop telling these untruths about the black-owned brands. They wasn't doing what y'all saying they was doing. Let's stop making one or two instances, all instances. Now, there was another TikTok video that I saw from a young lady. Her name was Kai Kai. Natural hair movement wasn't a natural hair movement. It was actually a twist out movement because everybody was doing twist outs to hide their natural hair. Google, right? Check out Nappy Foo's older stuff. Nappy Foo was doing the styles down back then. Into the 90s, we had Jill Scott, Let's Take a Long Walk. Big, natural afro with a flower on the side. We had Erykah Badu. We had Lauryn Hill with locks going into the 13s, 14s, 15s, 16s. We had Auntie Viola Davis. We had Lupita, Angie Stone, Lenny Kravitz. We're talking representation because representation has always been there, even though everyone wants to say it wasn't. It's always been there. Not an abundance of it, but it's always been there. And honestly, if we're part of the community, then we should have been building off of that instead of expecting others to do it for us. Hell, Stevie Wonder, he had braids with beads. So no, the earlier days of the natural hair community was not just a twist out community. Like, we had the natural hair influences there in social media. There was another young lady that I saw. Her name was more of Marie. Excellent video, great points all the way throughout. One thing that I want to kind of clean up with what she said is that she said one of the things that she felt that allegedly came to the downfall of the natural hair community was that if your wash and go, she said wash and goes. She said that if your wash and go wasn't like the perfect wash and go, if it was not perfectly in place, and I'm paraphrasing, but if it wasn't like the perfect, ideal, heavily defined wash and go, then you were looked at as, your hair was looked at as being unkept. A lot of the people at that time were stretching their wash and goes. They were stretching them. They wanted the volume, they wanted the bigger hair because people don't like shrinkage, which is, again, a whole nother subject. The people were going for they were going for stretched out wash and goes, which meant that they were creating their own frizz intentionally, and they did not mind it, is what they were saying. So no, I wouldn't say that led to the downfall. People were creating ununiform wash and goes. They were defined, but they were creating them intentionally for the volume to be big, to be voluminous. This is my wash and go for this week. Double shampoo, deep conditioner, a leave-in, tad bit of oil on the ends, and a cream. And a shake and a go. This isn't the only time that I've worn my hair like this either. So, no, not even a little bit. Not even a little bit. Now, of everything that everyone has mentioned in the videos that I've watched, and I've watched about 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 different videos and some TikToks and read some comments. The one thing that I will say that was definitely a deterrent and definitely kind of leaned into the divestiture that so many have done, or a few have done, and that keeps coming up, is the hair Nazis, the natural Nazis, which is tied to the hair charting system. I was here, I was around, I was a person on earth that watched that on Oprah. Listen, I watched Oprah because my mom watched Oprah. I was here for it, I watched it. Andre Walker created the hair charting system to promote his hair care line. That wasn't meant for us. That wasn't meant for us. That was only for his thing. But, you know, people have always liked boxes. And with boxes comes division. I personally don't use it. I don't like it. A point that Marie made in her video is that of all the millions and billions of people on Earth, this hair charting system is saying that all of these billions and millions of people are supposed to fit into 12 categories?
Well, Annie?
No.
Here's what I would say to my fellow content creators. If the hair charting system is causing the failure of the natural hair community, then stop using it in your videos. We'll give that a moment. Let's also stop justifying using it so that people can find you. We'll let that sit in for a minute too. Most people didn't know about the hair charting system when they were growing out their hair. Most people didn't know about it when they got onto YouTube. Most people Googled natural hair products, natural hairstyles, coily hairstyles, kinky hairstyles. When I first came on, even though I had seen that Oprah from 2001, 2002, I'd been forgot about it. That was not on my mind. So when I came on, I just searched natural hairstyles, how to grow out your natural hair, guys with natural hair. And I found the people. I follow about 18, 19, 20 people. Didn't find any of them with numbers and letters. So you can be found and not use the thing that you are saying is contributing to the failure of the natural hair community. Because if that's the case and you're using it, then... So now down to my final, wrapping the video up on how the natural hair community has actually not failed in any way. Things that other people brought up that they allege contributed to it are some of the rules and the trends. Here's the thing. Most things are trends. YouTube was a trend. Social media, all a trend. And what do people do with trends? They're on them for a little bit and then they hop to the next one. Hairstyles, a trend. Clothes, a trend. Colors for the season, a trend. Everything trends. And some things stick, some things don't. There was a young lady that I watched, super smart video, super smart young lady. Her name is Cameron. And she said in her video that she was talking about the natural Nazis, and she was like, you know, the natural hair community kept going down and down and down, and she was like, you know, the trend was getting old. It was getting old. Natural hair isn't a trend though. If we're going to talk about YouTube, maybe, and because of all of the rules and all of the things that are an issue, not an issue, and then they become an issue again, things like air drying your natural hair causes damage. There's nothing to prove that. That doesn't mean that the base, that the reason that the natural hair community exists, which is for us to share our experiences and to share things that we do and try, is somehow spoiled by these. It's a trend. It's gonna be gone. Our natural hair is still on our heads. There's still things to try. There's still things to learn. Like, I think that sometimes people are discouraged by some of the trends. I think that sometimes people find some of them stupid and they're just like, okay, I'm not doing that. You know, just find people that don't do some of the things that you consider to be stupid. You can still contribute. You can still support people in the community. Just pick and choose who you support. That's what I do. Now, With all of that, and I'm sure someone can probably argue every single point that I've made, let me tell you all the ways that it actually has really been successful. Number one, we've got a whole bunch of people here that are rocking their natural hair, that have loved it, that are embracing it. There are people that are learning to still embrace it, which is progress for your own self-worth and your own self-perspective of yourself. Have all of the options in the world for products that are catered to our hair, created by people that look like, we have all of the options, and they're created by Black men and by Black women. Could you want anything more? All of the options at all of the price ranges for everybody. So like I said, the oldest video I saw was from Rochelle Graham. Hers was 13 years ago. There may be others. Like I said, I just don't know who those people are, but I wouldn't be surprised if there were several more people. Every single type of style that you could want to try to do, and various techniques, it exists all here. All here, with every single type of texture that our hair comes in. It all is here, and you can get it for free $99. It's a self-serving platform, and we have provided to it. Y'all ever go on to cook, bake things, you look up a recipe? Personally, I do this. You have the general recipe, right? And then you scroll through the comments to see how other people have altered them a little bit. Community. We have that. I've learned other techniques and other products to try from people in the comments. Oh yeah, I've used that leave-in, but I did it with this gel, and this is what my results were. Thank you. The community is there. You just got to be in the right places and have the right people and be putting out the right type of content and energy to get what you want back out of it. The stylists that are part of the community, those that share and don't charge you for the smallest piece of information, those are actually there to more so support the community than turn a profit off of it. Have you ever been to a hair show before? Being in the room with all of that positive energy, seeing all of the beautiful people with their natural hair and all of the various textures, all in one space, people from everywhere being there, and then still having your Black-owned companies meeting the Black-owned owners, the owners that are Black, meeting the people that have created the things for your hair. And the most important thing is that we have thousands of people that are pro our hair, that are pro hair care, that are pro being natural, that are pro texture. To the point of the natural hair community allegedly failing. Nope, it didn't. It didn't. And it didn't. I think that it's shifting. I think that right now, and more Marie, I think, mentioned this, the rebirth of it. I think that's what's happening. I think a shift is happening. You ever been in a situation or in a room with people and things are going good and everyone's having a good time, and then one or two people come in and it just changes it, and it's like, wish they would leave. I think that's what's happening. I think that those that should go are going. I, along with several others, are ushering in a new look and a new take. Good example is Ebony with the V. Ebony's been on YouTube for years and years and years. She made a video and she was like, listen, I've done so much. I don't think I have anything else to offer. So I'm about to pivot my content and move in a different direction. Let other people come in and do their thing. The natural hair community has not failed. The natural hair community did not fall. I've stumbled, but it hasn't fallen. All right, so that's what I'm offering to this. Make sure that you like this video. Feel free to subscribe. I'm gonna get back to hair. I don't know what I'm doing next, but I'm gonna get back to hair, and I got some other stuff coming because I do more than just hair, and always have. Feel free to share this out. Show people a little bit of a different perspective. Comment down below. Let me know if you align with what I'm saying. Let me know if you disagree with any of the points that I have made. Comment down below. Punch the notification bell so that you can stay abreast of when I post my videos. And again, thank you for tuning in to Jermaine All Natural. Okay, I'll see you in the next one.